Welcome, everyone, to a brand new episode of Flipside Focus. I'm your host, the Random Dude, Josh, and with me, as always, from across the very, very big pond, hopefully he has survived talking about Fortnite, whatever you want to say it, Johnny the Machine Hughes. Johnny, how are you, friend?
The audio guy hates you.
You know, it's funny you say that because before the show started and there was a slight mishap, I literally said, as the intro was playing, man, the audio guy is going to give me all sorts of hell.
Well, yes, he is. He is. But,
you know, he's going to lay the hammer down if you get my draft.
Very clever. Very clever.
Well, you know, I have to have, a good segue. So this episode, we got a special guest.
Yes.
And indeed. I'm excited to speak with him. We've talked about his book on the show before. So it's exciting to actually be able to talk to the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Owen Hammer. Owen, welcome to the show.
Hello, guys. Thanks for having me back.
Absolutely.
It's great to be back, which is a weird thing to say when you're in your living room again. But thanks for having me back. It's good to see both of you.
It's a nice living room. Check out that Star Wars figure collection.
I was going to say that Star Wars collection is pretty fantastic, I might say.
Yeah, that is every vintage figure, including some custom figures. My wife and I, we had 13 extra slots because the case is designed to have all the variants. So you would have Han Solo regular head and Han Solo egg head. And we're like, screw that, let's just make some customs. So we figured out what 13 figures should have been in the original collection, and we bought some customs of those. So that awesome. Is the level of geekery. That's the level of geekery I'm at, so adjust your computer accordingly.
Where's the geek sitting on my computer? I can't seem to quite find it. I found the nerd button. Does that count?
I mean, yeah. So out of the custom figures, which one is your personal favorite?
Probably Ghost. I actually can't turn the camera to it, or this setup I have is about to fall apart. Ghost Obi-Wan Kenobi. Which is just Obi-Wan Kenobi cast in a trans-bluish plastic.
Ooh, okay. Very sweet.
What was...
it is supposedly Kenner made up type, and
I think we lost you.
The audio guy, I tell you, he's having one today.
I think Owen may have been frozen in carbonite just then.
Harsh.
Let's see. Having slight technical difficulties here. Make a note. So that way I can let the audio guy know.
Yeah. Is it worth kicking him in there? Get him to...
Yeah, let me try this.
I do not own the prototype.
Good thing we're not going live. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
He's back.
All right.
There you go.
I can see Josh. I can see Johnny. Am I back?
Yeah, you're back from Tatooine.
Okay. Do you guys, do you by chance remember where I was when I blanked out, so I could pick it up from there? You could even cut this together seamlessly. Nobody will ever know.
Good shout. So the last thing I heard was you said that the Obi-Wan figure is cast in blue transparent plastic.
Yes, apparently Kenner commissioned some ghost versions of stuff where they were just going to take the mold, the figures, and sell it in a semi-transparent blue plastic. And I guess Kenner decided that was too cheap even for them. And so selling Obi-Wan Kenobi as the actual prototype. I didn't believe it for a second, but I wanted it for my collection. I knew it was a forgery. Because I should say forgery instead of custom. I think I'm going to do that. And then somebody bought. Yeah, and then somebody bought it and bought it and bought it and bought it, and it went down in price without sale. The opposite of how investments are supposed to work. And I grabbed it up when it was being sold for almost nothing.
But you know what? That's the best time to do it.
Mm-hmm.
You really can't go wrong with that.
Obviously, they didn't see you coming.
Oh man, Johnny, your jokes are.
Dude, look at me! I'm wearing a shirt and tie, for Christ's sakes. Of course, my jokes aren't going to be my usual. You know what I'm saying? It's like, hello, hello, the world. Yes, I own a tie. Yes, I own a shirt. No, not everything's Batman.
So you guys are doing like clicky clacky right now. Is my voice coming through okay?
You sound like you're making out with a droid on Tatooine at the moment, but it's fine.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
okay, so
bit.
You hear me as badly as I hear you.
Yes.
Okay.
So yeah, it's
on my end.
Give me just a second here.
Well, the call to not do this episode live turns out to have been a really good call.
Yes.
Woohoo!
That was my schedule and non-skills for that one, I'm afraid. Yeah. So.
Okay, I actually just switched networks on my computer, so I should have a stronger signal now, at least on my end. So talking about, it's kind of funny how you mentioned the figure mold was a copyright infringement sort of aspect, not really.
Yeah.
I find that very ironic, considering the book the main book we're going to be talking about today,
Now where's he gone? I swear to God. Right.
He was surely going to say Von Bach.
Yeah, now
that'd be
he's
funny
back.
though. He said Von what?
Yeah. Von White? Van Halen? Van that carries Knight Rider around?
So you guys
shoes?
are still clicking, clacking, just so you know. But yes, Von Bach, it's about an undead monster who sues a movie studio. And among the many topics in it is the absurdity of copyright law. One of the two things that inspired the book was the lawsuit where Bela Lugosi Jr. sued a company that made a plastic model of Bela Lugosi as Dracula, and they said that they got the license from Universal Studios, but Universal Studios owns the movie Dracula with Bela Lugosi. They don't own the image of Bela Lugosi as Dracula. That's owned by the Lugosi family, and he won. And I thought, what if Dracula, the actual guy, came in and sued everybody? That was the inspiration for Von Bach. I abandoned the idea of making Dracula, and I invented my own generic undead monster. But so copyright law is actually very entertaining, just because it's also complicated, and it's amusing to me that we've cut up ideas into little bits and pieces, and people people have like very degrees of control over various ideas.
It's one of the things that's happened over here recently is the pop singer Dua Lipa shared a photograph of herself that a paparazzi had taken. And then the paparazzi sued her because he owns the photo, even though it's of her. It's like, what? How is that even possible? And of course, I suppose the biggest likeness issues were back in the day with Star Trek. You know, Captain Kirk and Leonard Nimoy, Leonard Nimoy and Shatner even weren't getting any money for the countless T-shirts and the memorabilia that was getting sold, and that was one of the big keys for when the movies kicked in. So you're absolutely right. That copyright is it's bonkers.
Well, even take Ghostbusters when. Because at the time that Ghostbusters was being filmed, there was already an existing cartoon called Ghostbusters.
Yeah.
It was actually, are you talking about in 1984?
Yes. Yeah.
Yes, so it was actually a live-action show. Somebody posted all the episodes on YouTube, so you can see it yourself.
Yeah. Yeah, so I've actually seen the original, and I've seen them on YouTube. But I know when the movie that we all know and love with Dan Aykroyd, Bill Murray, Harold Ramey.
Who says I love it? That's right. I said it.
Hey, Owen, I may be looking for a new co-host later.
No, the 1984 Ghostbusters, that is not, in my mind, a movie that survives the time. You watch it now, it's really kind of dated and not,
because that was one I remember watching as a kid. It's the nostalgia with it. Seeing the proton packs. Even now, I still want one. But at the time that was filmed back in the 80s, they would have to film a scene with the name Ghostbusters and everything, and then they'd have to turn around and fill the exact same scene with the other name, and I don't recall what it was, but it wasn't Ghostbusters because they were still trying to get the licensing for the name of Ghostbusters.
Crazy.
Oh, really?
I mean, it's where did it stop? Because here's a question now that cons are starting.
I'm still. You guys are still clicking. Every single thing you say is clicking in my ear right now.
I'm not sure.
It's not fancy AirPods. I don't know what to do about it because for somebody who works with fancy computers a lot, I'm still illiterate about a lot of things.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it's a connection thing. I don't know.
Should we persevere and just see how we get on?
Sure.
Yeah, let's see. And if it gets worse, push come to shove, we can reschedule. But what would you play?
Or would you prefer to reschedule?
It's entirely up to you guys.
Well, all you're the guest, so it's your call. Cause, it's your time.
Your time is valuable.
Yeah, I actually see a problem. Thank you. My AirPods. This streaming service. Can you hear me when I click out like that? The streaming service that we're using, it just dropped my AirPods completely. So now I'm on the
computer
the iPod. Guess what? You stopped clicking. All right.
And so have you. Great. Now we need the camera back on.
Can you hear me okay?
Hear you great.
Yeah, you sound perfect. It sounds like you're whispering sweet nothings into our ear. We just can't see you.
There he is.
Let's see.
There he is. There you go.
Okay, can you hear me?
Perfect.
All right, good. So, well, guys, it's great to be back. Thanks for having me back on the show.
So, yeah, we'll...
I've got like a full beard now. I'm like...
Yeah. Me too.
My hair's looking great. You can see the sun setting in the background.
Yeah. You had short hair when we started.
I have hair now.
I don't know. If you really did cut out the last 10 minutes, I'll tell the audience that we started the show and everything went haywire. But something you didn't see is my wife was tiptoeing to the kitchen to not disturb me. And I'm going, what? what? And she's like trying so hard not to be quiet. I love her more than you'll ever know, but so much caution to not be heard over three people yelling, what?
What?
So great to be back, guys.
Cool. So Von Bach.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the idea behind copyright infringement, monsters. Do you have a favorite Universal monster style?
No,
are you a Frankenstein guy? Are you a Dracula guy?
Well, I've always liked Frankenstein. As a kid, I just thought he was just... I mean, Frankenstein is a little kid when you think about it. But, I like the Universal monsters. I've always liked horror films. I actually like the early German expressionist films and the recent Japanese horror films better than the classic Universal monsters. But I thought that making a story about the story of the Universal monsters would make a really cool story. Should I tell the Bela Lugosi story again, or do we have it? Okay, good. Hey, you got to act surprised, like you've never heard this in your life now. So, you heard about the Bela Lugosi?
I could do that. He's got to act surprised.
So, one of the two things that inspired Von Bach is I was listening to the radio, and they were talking about the lawsuit where Bela Lugosi Jr. was suing over a plastic model kit that featured the image of his father as Dracula. Because Universal licensed I know, shocking. You've never heard anything like this in your life. Shocking. And anyway, Universal licensed the model kit, the image of Bela Lugosi as Dracula, but they didn't own the image because they don't own derivative uses of Bela Lugosi's face. The Lugosi family owns that, and the Lugosi family won. And then the model kit maybe countersued Universal. I don't know if that's true, but I thought, what if Dracula, the actual guy, showed up and sued everybody? Sued the Lugosi family, sued Universal, sued the model kit maker. And I worked with that idea. I instead of making it Dracula, I made it my generic undead monster, and that was the birth of Von Bach.
Well, for the listeners, I will tell you I am going to the home of Dracula next week. Whitby on the north. I'm going to Whitby on the North Yorkshire coast.
Oh, okay, I see what you're saying.
Yeah, so the home of Dracula, that's where I'll be.
Okay. Oh,
I will have a fantastic time.
I guess I envy you. Send pictures.
Will do.
I'm realizing I forgot one of the most important props, a copy of the book. I don't suppose either of you guys brought a copy of the book to hold up, did you?
Josh? Really? Well, actually, fine. If you're going to be like that about it, how about this? See if I can help you guys out.
Okay. So. All right. I know that Johnny the Machine Hughes is working the machine. So the graphic novel, here it is. This is the complete Von Bach. It was released as 7 20-page comic books. This is the complete graphic novel with bonus art, a new introduction by Kevin Van Hook, and it's fantastic. It's available as an ebook and as a paperback. You can buy the paperback on Indie Planet and Amazon. You can buy the ebook at the Hammer Comics storefront, at Indie Planet, at Amazon Comixology, at Amazon Kindle, at Gumroad, and Drive-Thru Comics. So please, and you're actually, see, there's proof that the real Kevin Van Hook wrote the introduction. I couldn't just take a picture of him and put it on there, I guess. Written by me with art by Mariano Navarra and Hernan Cabrera, and do not underestimate the difficulty of finding good artists to draw your graphic novel. It is not an easy thing to do, especially when this is the first graphic novel you've ever written. The overlap between good artists and people willing to work with a first-time writer is so tiny, it might just be Mariano and Hernan and nobody else. So as you can see, this thing came out looking fantastic.
It's gorgeous.
Their style is amazing. It's the right combination of realism and cartooniness, and the characters' expressions are fantastic.
Yeah.
And if you look in the third, well, go back one. Can you go back a page? In the third panel, Elsa's face. No, go forward a page now.
There
This is all getting cut out. Are we cutting all this out too?
No,
hey guys,
no.
Thanks for having me back. It's great to be back.
We're just going with craziness. It's fine.
Yeah. We like to keep it real.
Yeah, you see, Elsa has a look on her face like, whatever, because she's getting grief from her friend Bronwyn in the background. Like it didn't even occur to me to like say in the script what her facial expression is, but like they drew like a perfect facial expression. You'll notice the characters have different expressions on every panel based on what they're feeling. If you look at comic books, you'll see that a lot of professional artists like can't even do that. So
I agree. I see too many comic books that the dialogue says something like, "You've just lost your dad," and the character's got a smile on his face. So it's like I see those a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. And all the women have the same face too. That's something and the same body. That's something I see so often. So, this was an incredible stroke of luck getting those two. And you go to hammercomics.com. That's hammer-comics.com. And again, I'm going to find who owns hammercomics.com without the dash, and the hammer's going to come down. But right now,
how did you come to work with Mariano and Hernan? How did that come about?
Oh well, I will briefly describe the situation, and you guys ask follow-up questions as you see fit. I found them through their work on adult comics, which they do under their real names, and I happened to be in communication with one of my favorite writers of adult comics, and he got the meeting together. And I was like, I actually didn't know they did work other than adult comics. So I looked at their other work, and it was amazing. And then I realized, well, look, if you can draw well, then anything that you draw will be drawn well. And this guy arranged the meeting, and I found out I actually had some of their work. Hernan did the colors for a Alan Moore graphic novel, and I'm an Alan Moore fanatic. And they have an Argentinian superhero called El Caballero Rojo. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. The Red Knight. And I looked at their broader career and said, "Oh my God, these guys are amazing." And they read the script. This was Von Bach had started off as a stage play. I adapted it into a graphic novel script, which was 100 times harder than I ever would have imagined. And I sent them the script, and I think that they were just kind of like, "Oh, who is this guy? Owen Hammer." Probably not even his real name. And they read the script, and then they said, "We're interested," and we worked out a deal, and now it's done. And this book would never exist without Mariano and Hernan. I can guarantee you that.
Mm. I like the kind of juxtaposition between the fact it's kind of like a facsimile of a horror story,
yes,
and yet the art is so kind of light-hearted in places. Yes. It kind of like you're fooling the reader a little bit into thinking, they are waiting for the final shoe to drop. And then, of course, as the whole copyright element kicks in, you realize it's not actually a horror at all. It's kind of, the horror is the circumstance of the situation, I suppose.
Actually, I wish I thought to phrase it like that like 3 years ago. That's exactly right. Because, just people who work in show business and deal with all of the stupid little things that hang up their entire careers, that is the horror that they're dealing with. Yeah.
Oh no, I've been typecast.
So the main character, Von Bach, dies, comes back to life with the use of his unholy technology, and then comes back a second time in modern Hollywood and finds out that he's a celebrity. Like Frankenstein and Dracula, the book written about him has been adapted into a movie hundreds of times. And that's not an exaggeration. Both Dracula and Frankenstein have been made over 100 times. And he's mortified in every sense of the word. And he sues them. And this is the kind of story where you don't know what direction it's going to go into. It turns into a courtroom drama. And you're like, I did not expect it. So, first of all, on page 11, we jump from Bavaria in 1888 to Hollywood in 2013. So now I hope people are still going to buy it. I hope we're not going to go through the whole book.
Well, you know what? We're not. What I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of just pick and choose random bits out of it because I want people to read the book. So that's fine. So it's about how life can go in directions you don't expect. People become famous for things very different than what they had thought, they would be famous for. Von Bach thought he was going to be remembered as a great scientist, and he's remembered as a fictional character who came back from the dead. So,
I always find that interesting that what you think you're going to be known for can change.
Yeah,
we see that in. We'll take Hollywood for example. I mean. You look at Robert Downey Jr. You look at his past before. I mean, people would have remembered him as the actor that was sent off to prison, but he gets out, changes his life around. Now look at him.
Yeah.
Other actors and actresses, they're cast in one role, and then all of a sudden they play something else, and boom. I mean, Christian Bale. He was in The Machinist before taking on the role that we all know him for.
Terminator.
What?
I was going to say Newsies. Come on.
There's a great article in the Onion written by the Earl of Sandwich. Said, "I will be remembered as a great statesman."
Oh, I love the Onion. It's such
they repeated the joke. There was an editorial written by General Chow saying, "I will be remembered as a great military leader." So you never know. Oh, the cover issue too. I don't think I won't do it now. It'll take too much time. This is of all the individual covers of the individual issues. This is my favorite. This is the main character, Mina, is imagining the people, her bosses, who control her life. She's a professional writer in Hollywood now. She imagines them as an angry mob chasing them with torches and pitchforks. And this is, for those of you who buy the book, take the time to read all the signs, zoom in as far as you can. It's all things that have been said to me or to my fellow showbiz people.
Sorry, Danish is only for the clients. Excellent.
Yeah.
That one, that was class.
Von Bach is the sort of thing where I told you my hero was Alan Moore. When you reread his books, you find new stuff in them. There's a lot in Von Bach, so buy it twice so you can read it twice.
I quite like this one. This one's probably my favourite. Let me just bring it back up so we can see it. I wish the big two comic companies would read that. That's all I'm saying. Yeah, that was my favorite.
That's awesome. So the one thing that really stood out about the book that I like is the transition between conversations within the story, and then it jumps over to scenes in the movie. And I love the choice of you can tell when it's like the movie aspect because you've got it looks like film. Yeah.
Well, they put the film sprockets in, and you'll notice that the colors change, not just the black and white, but a little bit of background. Just everybody. When we talk in movie references, and the characters have all these movie references that exist to them, but not to us. There's all these in-universe movies, and whenever they reference one, we actually show it to you. This is how the play worked, and these movie segments have actually been shot, and you can go to hammercomics.com and see them, or go to the Owen Hammer YouTube page. Most of these actually exist as film clips that we shot. And the director of photography, I never miss a chance to drop his name, is Aaron Moorhead, who's become a very successful horror movie director, and he's directing the Moon Knight TV series now. I would say that I gave him his start, except then he would publicly deny it and embarrass me properly for lying about him. But that was really because that was really interesting to see his career take off after Von Bach was complete. If you look at there's film clips from the 1960s films, which are supposed to look like the Hammer films, no relation. Again, I thought I would lie about that, but people researched that. The colors...
Damn that internet. How dare it hold the truth?
The colors are all like weird and gross, where highlights are red and shadows are too red and highlights are too blue, and that's to simulate the look of the cheap film stock that they used, which was 2 strips of color instead of 3, which is you may as well just make it black and white. And this is the 1970s blaxploitation version, Von Black, which also got into the...
So you had mentioned that you had taken the screenplay and transitioned it over to a graphic novel, and you said that
I took the stage play and I made it into a screenplay. And I took the screenplay and made it into a graphic novel, a comic script. Both jobs were, like I said, much harder than I ever would have guessed.
So I guess I'm curious, for someone who may not understand the difference, like what's the difference between the three?
Well, once I made a screenplay out of the stage play, the biggest change was that characters would leave and go to new locations a lot. The stage play is written so that the characters stay in one location for a long stretch of time, which you'll see in plays. If you watch some older TV shows that are shot multi-camera, the story's written, if you think about the fact that these characters are all like having this one conversation in a compressed amount of time, it's quite unrealistic, but we're used to it. So I got a lot of mileage out of the fact that I could just cut to a new location and have conversations continue from one location to another. And I didn't have to have a lot of stuff happen off screen. A lot of stuff in the comic book, in the stage play, it happened off stage and was referred to because it would be too much to fake all these various things happening. And that went to the stage play, and then that went from the stage play to the screenplay. I added more locations, and then I kept that rhythm in the comic script. In the comic script, I took out a lot of stuff that doesn't really work in comics and added some jokes that work better in comics than they would in a screenplay. I think the facial expressions are much more exaggerated in the comic book than that they would have been in a movie, and that helps me because, you know, the story is just so absurd. Pretending, you know, I think maybe it works better in many ways as a comic book.
I've got to say that one of my favorite TV shows of all time is The West Wing. Right?
Yeah.
And I found out purely by choice, purely by chance, I should say, that the guy that wrote The West Wing wrote A Few Good Men, which was originally a stage play.
Yeah.
And you can kind of see how like Aaron Sorkin has his beats down perfect, doesn't he? He has that. And I suppose one of the things the West Wing's known for is the ability that they have that ongoing conversation throughout the corridors as they move. So they're actually showing you the transition, not just like one room to another room and the conversation's still going on. I suppose if you in a set, like a movie set or a TV show set, you've got that space. Whereas I've seen A Few Good Men on the stage, and it doesn't lose anything because you're caught up in the drama of the situation, in the script and the dialogue and all the witty banter that goes with that sort of stuff. So, who was I talking to? I think I was talking to Ryan Curtis about his new Kickstarter book, and I think one of the things he was saying is you can get away with a lot more in a comic. You don't have to plan, like visually. You don't have to kind of, if you're working in TV, you get this idea. It's like, how do I do that? When a comic, you don't have to do it. It's like, boom, just bring it on page it. Yeah.
Oh yeah. There's so much stuff in the graphic novel that I didn't put into the script because I didn't want it to cost $1 million. One thing
page rate.
Von Bach is basically deteriorating. Like his face is disappearing. Like you'd have to do that digitally with a real actor, but in the comic book, it's trivial to have something like that. Because in the stage play, it's kind of like I'm sorry, I keep thinking this is a mirror.
It's all right, fine.
I wouldn't know how to do that.
So I've thrown myself off my own rhythm. In the stage play, there's not really a way to do elaborate makeup, and he's just like an undead guy who's kind of like pale and white with some scars and messed up hair. And the people who produced the stage play were kind of surprised that he's like disintegrated and like he's almost just a skull with his nose missing and everything. So there we go. The covered issue 4, I'm very proud of. And
that one's my favorite out of them all.
This is Von Bach is coming out of the grave and he's talking to the narration. This is a shocking twist. Von Bach returns from the dead, and he's just saying, "What twist? Everybody knew I was going to return from the dead." And so he's having an argument with the narration. This doesn't, given the reality of the book, this doesn't really make any sense. But I liked it, and I thought it was funny. And Mariano and Hernan have this on their portfolio without the dialogue, because without the goofy jokes, it's actually a very serious picture.
I like the picture.
Yeah. But Von Bach isn't buried, so coming out of the grave doesn't make any sense in the context of the story. But we put it on the cover.
I think it's a good break of the fourth wall where he's talking to the narrator.
Also, in comic books, they'll put something on the cover that never happens in the book. They'll do that all the time. I can't think of any cogent examples, but like two characters have a mild conversation in passing on page 15, and they're in costume and fighting with ninja swords on the cover.
DC a few years back, and I'm talking a few years back, I'm getting my old timer on here. They had a month of comics, and the gag on the cover was every issue they've got to say that Batman dies. All right, so it's like, hey kids, this issue Batman really died, and somewhere along the line in the book something like that would kind of happen, but it's obviously not really. It's like, what's going on? So I get it. There's the suggested cover as opposed to the factual cover, isn't it?
Yeah, in the 80s, John Byrne did that a lot, where the X-Men were on the cover of Alpha Flight, and it says the X-Men are not in this issue. And then there was a Fantastic Four where Doctor Doom is on the cover, and it just says, no, Doctor Doom is still dead. He's not in this issue. And he did a bunch of fake outs where it said that She-Hulk was going to be nude, and then there was always some bizarre way that they they got around the promise to show her naked.
So it was clickbait before clickbait was a thing.
Clickbait before clickbait.
So you also got to think, when we talk about characters who break the fourth wall, we forget that, John Byrne was there first doing it. And,
yes.
And She-Hulk was, everyone says, Harley's being Deadpool by breaking the fourth wall, when really Deadpool's being Shulky, because Shulky did it first. So,
yeah.
Cool.
Oh, and don't forget that Steve Ditko, Stan Lee and Jack Kirby did it too. They would appear as themselves in Fantastic Four in the 60s. And there's actually an issue where Dr. Doom apparently murders Stan Lee and Jack Kirby, and it's never acknowledged or followed up on. So yeah, they've done that quite a bit.
Curious and curious.
So you've got Von Bach. What other projects do you have coming up?
I'm writing another graphic novel. It's called Rogues Gallery, and it's a superhero book. So I think there might be a market for that. It's about a group of supervillains who realize that their plan to take over the world can't succeed because of climate change. So they set out to stop climate change. And the heroes are kind of ambivalent because they're trying to figure out, like, should we stop them? Should we stop them like just up to a certain point? And it basically takes like ideas of just heroism and villainy and right and wrong, and takes these tropes from the comic books and uses them to look at just how absolutely sinister the people who run the planet are right now. And don't worry, I'm not some crazy Illuminati guy. I don't think there's a secret cabal controlling.
Oh no, everybody knows who they are.
I think there's a publicly known cabal ruling the planet. But I realize that the fact that there's like a handful of billionaires who run everything. This basically is the supervillain plan, actually having been successfully executed. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, the book's called Rogues Gallery, right?
Mm-hmm.
So,
well, that's the tentative title. I actually want to call it Crisis, but I think that would cause too much confusion.
Yeah.
Speaking of copyright,
I think that's copyright to the next. So here's a quick question then for comic fans and so on. Best rogue gallery, who's got them? Who's got the best rogues?
I think Spider-Man, just because I think that Stan Lee and Steve Ditko were just the perfect team to do superhero books. I'm one of the few people who likes Ditko better than Jack Kirby. And
no, hey, I'm on that train. I'm on that train, big time. You can't say Spider-Man. They're all animals. Vulture.
Yeah.
Chameleon.
Well, no, like the thing of it is getting away from subtext and the things that make characters rich. The superpowers have to be intuitive. He's got 4 robot arms. Got it. He can turn into sand. Got it. They did a great job. Even though they use the animal theme too often, they were just great. And they were mostly tragic figures, like most Marvel villains. They were victimized themselves and decided to take it out on the rest of the world. And I just think that those are just such imaginative characters. One of the greatest scenes in Silver Age Spider-Man's is the first time he confronts Electro, who has electricity powers. Again, intuitive, you get it. And Spider-Man, the early version, he's got this mask with electricity things coming out of it. It's rather impractical. But Spider-Man beats him and takes off his mask. And Spider-Man is disappointed that he doesn't know who it is under the mask. Yeah. That it's some guy he's never met before. And I thought that was one of the best endings to a superhero story. And Spider-Man's like, I don't know why I thought I would know who it is, but all right, I don't know this guy.
Good shout. Josh, your favourite Rogues villain? Rogues Gallery?
Warner Brothers Motion Pictures.
Satirical.
I mean, yeah, that's me being me. No, I'd have to say I have to go with pointy ears.
Batgirl.
And yes, Batgirl, of course. I'm going to exclude the Joker from it. Even though the Joker is, just an iconic villain. I feel like Batman has a huge variety. You know how Owen, you talked about Spider-Man's villains being more elemental based. Mm-hmm. Where Batman's are different emotions or issues that Batman has dealt with in some shape or form. Mm-hmm. And that's where they're built upon. And so I think that creativity with those villains is what makes them really stand out to me. Mm-hmm. But I'm also slightly biased because that was the superhero that I looked up, that I liked as a kid. So, we all have that one hero that we always go, that's the hero. Yeah. And so it was Batman for me.
No, I do agree. They're more conceptual. They're kind of representative. It's like each character represents a certain state of mind. I don't think you could say this character is greed, this character is, lust or whatever, but they seem to be very conceptual villains. I've always thought that the Joker was evil incarnate, and that's why I didn't care for the Joker movie. You can't have a backstory to a character that is anthropomorphized evil itself. Like, to be fair, what's his back? Yeah.
I'm with you on this again. I haven't even seen the Joker movie. I have zero interest. Zero interest. I don't need him to be humanized. Mm-hmm. I know he's the bad guy. That's it. Done. I don't know what it is about this current generation that says you've got to know the ins and outs of everything. Just imagine if Wolverine was created now as opposed to what he was back in the day. We'd know everything in a 4-issue miniseries. We crossed over like 57 titles maybe, but we know about it. Yeah. Whereas back then it was like, who is Logan his first name? Is it his last name? Why is he no Japanese? And all this sort of stuff. It was built on. So yeah.
I don't want to take us on a tangent, but did they ever explain where the name Logan came from? I actually don't think I have no idea. It's still a mystery. Okay.
I think it's buried in the professor's attic with all of his books.
I'll ask him next time he's on Old Timers. Why is Logan called Logan?
Yeah, we'll ask him. So he's the older of all of us. So, I'm going to get hate mail from him later.
I agree.
So you've got Rogues Gallery that you're working on.
Yes.
Which sounds like a fantastic story.
Oh, yes, I'm actually looking forward to it. I just finished writing the story in anticipation about answering questions on this very interview, and I think that once it's done, you whoever reads it, you're all going to love it.
Well, if Von Bach's anything to go by, it's going to be a rip-roaring read. I like the idea that you kind of taken the idea of what makes a hero, what makes a villain. Is it okay to do a good thing for bad reasons? Or that whole kind of model. I like how that's kind of turned on its head. So
because basically the heroes and the villains break up into smaller groups of like tearing down the whole system and upholding the establishment, and it becomes I'm now I want to shut up the interview and go write it, but
there you go. I was going to say one more thing. Let's see. Who's publishing that? Is that through yourself again, or is it Kickstarter?
Hammer Comics. Basically, everything is published by Hammer Comics until a publisher.
Dark Horse come in.
I actually am. I'm actually waiting to hear from Dark Horse about Von Bach.
Really?
So
Nice.
hey, there we are. What's the opposite of making news? Making speculation. No, I
Making it up. Fake news.
Yeah, no. It's been. There's about 3 companies where it's. I don't even think I should say it's under consideration. I filled out the submission form correctly. That's the status of it right now.
We'll use the NFL term. We'll use the NFL term. Under further review.
Under further review, yeah, it is.
The rule on the field stands. Yes.
But it's interesting because I basically pretty much every publisher will read unsolicited submissions. They don't like it, but they don't want to miss, that great masterpiece out there. But they're like, we will not send you your postage back. We won't send you your book back. We might never even email you. If you email us, you'll just annoy us. And I'm like, well, this relationship is off to a great start. And
sounds
then,
like some of my girlfriends.
Yeah, and they're like, we only want graphic novels. And then the other publisher is like, no graphic novels. Nobody's buying graphic novels. And one publisher was like, people are only buying graphic novels. Nobody's buying individual issues. And
it's bonkers. I mean, Josh and I have this conversation at least twice a year. I am a floppy buying kind of guy. Josh likes digital and trade, and it's like we have this conversation, but the reality of the market is that every 6 issues, whatever you're reading is getting bundled up as a trade. It's what happens. Whether you like me and you buy it in 22-page installments, or whether you buy it as a graphic and get whatever 6 times 22 is.
The only reason Von Bach was released as 7 issues before the graphic novel is because it was going to take them a year to do the artwork. So why sit on the artwork for a year when I can? The script that was the final script was 136 pages, and I said, okay, there's kind of 7 logical chapter breaks here, so I'll cut here and add here and make it into 7 20-page chapters. And it actually ended up making the graphic novel better because there's a lot more suspense in it now. It's like, oh no, what's going to happen next? I don't have to wait a month. I can just flip the page. But
and the the different covers for each issue, I think serves as a better break for readers to kind of sit back, process what they just read, and then get ready for the next installment, if you will, without having to put the book down. Yeah,
the graphic novel definitely works like that.
Yeah,
it's good because looking through the graphic novel, there's not that need to go over like previously.
Yeah,
previously on Von Bach. But that would have been funny, though. That would have been funny.
Like sometimes when people do the trade collections and you still get the previously on pages, it's like, dude, I've read the book already.
Not only that, but back to the Silver Ages. If you remember, Spider-Man casually says, this is the worst villain I fought since I fought the Sandman. And then it will be back in Spider-Man issue 4, Sneaky Steve. And then sometimes in a conversation, there's like 5 footnotes in it. Like they don't want anyone to get lost in the story. If you have the trade paperback, all of those are kept in them as well.
Yeah.
Amazing Spider-Man Annual #1 is the one that always makes me laugh because as he's swinging through New York, he runs into Thor, and then he goes and speaks to the X-Men, goes and hangs out with the Fantastic Four for a bit, and there's always that little box saying, you can catch Thor in during the suspense. Blah, 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 blah. And you're like, just get on with the damn Spider-Man story.
Yeah.
Well, I think if I remember right, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles did the same thing. I think it was in issue 2 where they go to talk about the origin, and then next thing you know, there's this little box that says, they tell the story, but if you want to read the story, go check out issue number 1.
Yeah.
And you're just sitting there going, what if I didn't get issue number 1?
Yeah.
And it's just, it was one of those moments when I finally read that, I was like, wait, what? Really?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, fine. I didn't want to read it anyway, but that's okay. But,
think of it as if you want a shared universe, that's what you get.
Yeah.
That brings up an interesting question. Should comic book universes be shared? Because when you think of how many comic heroes, if you're looking at heroes, go through some sort of major storyline, and somebody surely has to say, well, hold on a second, why isn't such and such helping him? He lives, and Marvel's the worst one. Everyone lives in New York.
Yeah.
For the majority, so all of a sudden something happens. The X-Men turn up to save the day, and okay, so where were the Avengers? Where were the Fantastic Four? Where were, at least in DC world, you've got like different cities.
Yeah.
Be it Gotham, Metropolis, or
all of them.
Core City. Yeah, well, they have the metaphors. Metaphors, thank you.
The metaphors.
That's what we call it. I don't work for DC, so I can say what I like, right?
Well, I can't imagine why they wouldn't hire you now.
Well, you haven't heard me on our DC show kick the crap out of Birds of Prey. So.
The TV show or the movie or the book?
The comic books, the last round
all of them.
The last round of... I don't mind the movie. I'm going to say I don't mind the movie, but it's nothing to do with the comic book. So and but the last volume of comic books, I was quite vocal about how terrible it was. So
okay, I'll take your word for it and stay away.
Well, it got cancelled, so I was right about something, right?
Okay, good.
All right, so you got Von Bach, you've got Rogues Gallery.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else? Anything else on the horizon?
If you live in Los Angeles, I have a new play. No speculation on whether it will be adapted into a graphic novel. It's called The Ground Floor. It was supposed to have been produced last year, then the pandemic happened, and it's going to be. We're going to see what happens to theater in LA if the theater's open, if we can do it. But I pretty much finished the script when the pandemic happened, and it's about a small town sheriff who has to solve the mystery of how an entire house disappeared. And as he investigates it, the mystery gets deeper and deeper and stranger. And we kind of meet all the strange residents of this town as each one of them is either like investigated as a suspect, or we see them take on the investigation themselves. And yes, it is a metaphor for something that. It's not just weirdness for the sake of weirdness.
Damn, that's the best kind of weird. Damn it! Now I've got to think about it, not just read the damn thing. I've got to think about it. Oh man! No.
Well, no, you're gonna have to sit and watch and think. So you got the trifecta there, Johnny.
Yes, I do. Yeah. And you can't turn it off because the actors are there in front of you.
You can't pause, come back, and yeah.
No, I've been to some bad theater where it's like, let's turn this off. Oh shoot!
Yeah,
crap! It's
trapped
live.
Yeah.
Hey, last time somebody left the theater, the parents got shot. Bruce Wayne parents. This so short. Damn this place.
That raises a question. Was it just a really bad show? Or although that changes with every iteration.
Yeah. Well, it was Mask of Zorro, so what does that say about Zorro?
I'd like to read the business plan for building a theater next to Crime Alley. I'd like to know how they got it. No, I mean, other than that, it's a great location.
Yeah, car parking for free.
I think that'll offset the. We're gonna have some really great shows. It's like, well, that's not the issue. Yeah. Well, no wonder it was so cheap to build there.
Yeah.
There's the advertising. The last show you'll ever see. Oh, it's a killer show. Oh man, I could go.
When people debate who deserves all the credit for Batman, Buck Kane or Bill Finger, I remind them that it was Bob Kane's idea that the alley with the crime in it be named Crime Alley. So.
Yeah.
Well, you were just saying about Spanish characters, how emotive, how logical it is, how
well, no, intuitive is different than ridiculous.
Lazy.
Yeah.
Oh, good times.
Excellent.
Well, Owen, definitely appreciate you coming onto the show. This has been an absolute blast.
Let me know when this is going to broadcast. I think it'll be about 23 seconds long after you cut out all of the technical errors.
It'll be good. But for everyone watching, make sure to head over to hammer-comics.com until he puts the hammer down on whoever owns hammercomics.com.
Yeah.
Go pick up your copy of Von Bach. Totally worth it. It is a fantastic book, worth getting. Go check it out. And as always, again, Owen, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you. I'm applauding for you, not for myself. Thank you guys for having me.
We appreciate that.
Thank you, and I hope I can be back, and someday I'll have you on my show.
Sounds good.
I actually am going to have to start a show just to have all these people who hosted me on in return and reciprocate.
Well, if you ever do a show where you need like a really authentic British accent.
Yes. Well, if it's a real YouTube show, you've got to have a cat in the background, and you've got to have an insane fan theory about The Shining.
He's got a cat in the background.
You need an insane fan theory about The Shining, and you have to be a transgender woman.
I can do some of that.
That was not a transphobic joke.
Johnny.
It's just true that it's just every single good YouTube show where they explain something. I actually found it. I can understand any topic if it's explained to me by a transgender woman with a cat in the background.
Hey, I've got great legs, and I've got the cat, so I'm halfway there. Right?
He's going to wear his Wonder Woman onesie again. Oh.
I was suggesting that you would bring in somebody else, not try and do it yourself. But
I mean, I don't know. I'd want to see the machine be versatile.
You also have to have a completely unnatural transition to a mail order cooking service where they send you all the vegetables and say things like, you can't just go to the store and buy vegetables.
I was trying
how many rules are there in this show? Yeah. It's worse than trying to make Star Trek.
Okay, guys.
I think that's worse than trying to read a Red Hood book, but that's neither here nor there. But awesome. Well, again, thank you, Owen, for joining us on the show. Make sure to check us out on all of our other Undercover Capes shows, including
Outside the Panels that has dropped this week with the new episode featuring Ryan Curtis. And a little bit of a spoiler, Tom Signowski has been in touch. Ooh. He's got the Vampyverse book coming out in September. We're looking to have him and his co-writer back on OTP real soon.
Great. And then, of course, the Old Timers Comic Book Show.
Old Timers Comic Book Show, where the hosts aren't old, but the comics most certainly are. This time, next week, it is, what is it? Oh, yes, it's crossover time.
Ooh, and fun.
It's not just Marvel DC. We've got some UK indie stuff in there.
Ooh.
It's about time. We went with the law.
Great.
Ooh, very nice. And of course, if you love Magic the Gathering, check out the Jank Think Tank. We've got our new episode coming out where we actually test out the new commander decks for the new D&D inspired set Adventures in the Forgotten Realm, so make sure to look out for that. And of course, we've got our other shows, The Definitive Crusade, No Prize Podcast, and a slew of other shows. So head over to.
I got to up my game. I got to compete against all these other guests.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, we will catch you guys on the next one, and enjoy your week.
On the flip side.
Bye, everybody.
Visit undercovercapes.com for the latest and greatest podcasts via the Undercover Capes Podcast Network. Also visit our parent company website, comiccrusaders.com, all about comic pop culture.